Hey guys, back today with another video in the pipeline series. This pipeline series is so important, although the resource that I'm using is not necessarily panning out as wonderfully as I would have imagined. The basic concept of it is still what's most important, and so as I go through it, and I'm about halfway through it right now with my kids, really the key is that you get some note cards kind of compiled maybe that are just good launching pads for communication, for stirring up memories and things that can be discussed and communicated and shared. It's really about just sharing your heart with one another, and sometimes a good question can kind of open the doorway to that. I know for some parents, this is easier than others. Like, this is really hard for me. I'm not good at questioning. My brain just I don't do well, especially at night when I'm doing this. It's not my best time of the day in terms of thinking, and so for me to go in there with some notes is really helpful. So this could be helpful for you in that you could maybe write down a couple of notes or just maybe just a question or something like that. But to reiterate, the most important point of this series, you want to establish a daily time in which you are building a bridge to the heart of your child. And the basically what you're trying to do is express to them that I delight in you, not for anything that you do, not for anything that I think you're going to do, but just because you are. And in doing that, you're reflecting the type of love that God the Father gives you, which you need to parent. You need to be connecting with God in that as well for your own self. But then you're turning around and you're imitating God the Father and doing that with your children. And that's the truth. You should love them just for who they are, although be it they've got a lot of potential. They need to know that they're just loved just because, and that they're delighted in, that it's not about performance, but giving and showing them true love. And so, so in other words, you do that by not, this is a time that you will spend with them daily in which you do not, start talking about everything that's wrong with them or things they need to improve. Or, again, there's a section and there's time for that in the day, and that's part of your responsibility as parent. But in this time, you want to just establish communicating heart things. And so some of the questions in some of these days are what's helping me. So I'm going to pass those along. Today is day 4. And in day 4, this resource opens up the category of how people communicate love. Now, this will be a new thought for your kid, because it's a new thought for anybody that hasn't read the book, the 5 love languages or something similar. The resource doesn't bring out the 5 love languages today. I think that's in a day to come. However, as soon as it brought this up, that's immediately what leapt to my mind. And so I began to explain to my kids what the love languages are. And if you're not familiar with the love languages, you ought to go Google them a little bit. You don't have to get the book necessarily to get the idea. But the idea is that everybody has a different love language. And you typically will love, like when I want to love someone else, I'll love them with the love language that I understand, that I like. And so mine is physical touch and words of affirmation. Actually, I may have another one that's kind of a top 3 there, but those 2 plus quality time are really mine. And so I typically will want to do that when I'm trying to show love to somebody else. And so the issue is that because we have different love languages, we communicate with those love languages. But what if you don't have my love language? It can very much be like speaking another language, giving love, but that love not being received because that other person doesn't have that language. So if you're a gift giver, that's gift giving is one of the love languages, and I'm not, But if you were to give me a gift, I would appreciate it, but it wouldn't necessarily really hit the spot for me, because I just don't give gifts. It's not my thing. It's not my language. And so it's important to know one another, especially this is great in marriage, especially. I think that's mainly what the love languages was written for, but to know how to communicate love in a way that it's received, in a way that it's felt. And so this is a new thought for your child, obviously, and you need to know what their love language is, so you can begin to, first of all, describe what they are. And they are quality time, acts of service, words of affirmation, gift giving, and what's the other one? Quality time, gift giving, acts of service, physical touch. And so each one of those is, and you might want to go Google that if you need to know a little bit more about it and explain it. And then what the cards brings up on this day is, sometimes we're trying to communicate love, but we don't. Here's something that or let's discover, when I did, what is it that I do that you feel or felt loved by? You could pose that question to your child. Something in the past, when you were a little child, what's something that I did that you really felt connected to and felt good about and felt loved when I did that? And so it's a time of reflection. It's a time of thinking about the past in terms of, what has done that, what is that and why is that? And so it's a great launching pad to open up some discussion about this or that in terms of love and your relationship. And then you do that back and forth. You parent can do the same thing, and then you can bring up the topic of, since we don't always communicate what we're trying to communicate, here's an instance in which I was loving you, but I don't think that you picked up on that. And I believe where I went with that was typically when I'm trying to correct my son, when I'm getting on to him about something, I just was wanting to reassure them that the reason I do that is because I love you. And I know it doesn't come across as that, but just so you'll be reminded again, if I didn't love you, I wouldn't spend any time trying to correct you or trying to do X, Y, and Z. And there's many other instances in which you could discuss something like that, and it's a powerful thing. That's something that you ought to do. So you both want to share back and forth kind of the same topic and just kind of talk it through. It's about communicating. It's about and you're wanting some serendipitous type of things to spring up and just to have a good time together. Is really what you're trying to do. Build that bridge between your heart and theirs. And then the most powerful thing that I have found in this, not other than just doing it and again, spending time delighting and communicating, is at the end, this prayer time. It's really an invitation into asking God into your relationship to your child. And so both of you pray at the end. Today's resource had us look at John 17:22, which is a verse about Jesus' desire for the Trinity plus all of us to be in this love of God together. And so we bring up the fact that, look, we are followers of Christ, and Christ said this right before he went to the cross, and looking up that verse, John 17:22, reading that, and then explaining it, and then praying over it. See, so then you would end the night with a prayer. Mom or dad, you pray that verse over your relationship to your child, and then you have the child pray the same thing, pray their own version of that. And you're inviting God into solidifying and doing what he says he wants done anyway. And it's a powerful thing to end the night that way, in which you're developing their prayer life. You're developing a prayer life that's based on the Word, and it's just an awesome thing. So hope you're encouraged, and I'm going to try to, as I'm going further and further in this resource myself. I'm going to try to relay this in a way that would be most helpful for you. But here's what I would say. Maybe get a little 3x5 card and make a couple of notes to take in with you in terms of the questions. You know, maybe the one I'm posing or something like that. Maybe you're really good at questions and you don't need any help. And I need the help. I got to go in there loaded because I have a hard time. I don't like the resource in the way it's set up. In a lot of ways, it seems insincere, and you're reading responses that, you know, they kind of come off insincere when reading them, although there's other aspects of just the kid being engaged and asking a question that they wouldn't ask otherwise. Overall, if you can just get the nuts and bolts of these good questions, a launching pad question into some good discussion about a heart issue, teaching at the same time, things like a love language, I would also suggest you go online and you can take a test on the 5 love languages and find out what yours is. Find out what your child's is. And then you've got that to go off of. Then you know how to really love them on purpose with some insight, because we're all a little bit different. And that's just another way for you to know your kid and for them to know you. So again, that builds that bridge. So anyway, hope you're following through with this and enjoying building that bridge and delighting in your child and growing in relationship with them. My prayers are with you. God bless you. God's going to change the world one family at a time. So let him use yours. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.